Hello everyone, thank you all for joining the weekly call. I would like to thank community engagement team for giving me the opportunity and platform to share my experience. I'm going to talk about a very cool Copilot feature in Power Automate for desktop that assists us in detecting the fix for UI errors during flow execution. Before I begin, I would like to give a quick introduction. My name is Manish Solanki. I am working as a Power Platform architect in a service-based company. I specialize in designing and implementing solutions by leveraging the capabilities of Power Automate, Power Apps, and other Power Platform tools. Besides presenting demos, some of my other community contribution are sharing solution in the tech forums, content creating in the form of blogs, YouTube video, sharing code and sample in the Microsoft sample gallery. So during this session, I will cover the most common error scenario in the UI and web automation. Next, we will discuss about the solution, that is repair flow error feature to resolve the UI automation errors. Post that, we will also cover the benefits of setting up this feature in automation process. After that, we will discuss the prerequisite to enable this feature in Power Platform environment. Then we will jump on the hands-on session where I will show end-to-end case to resolve error for unattended scenarios. Lastly, we'll cover the list of known issues and limitations. Most frequent problem we face in UI and web automation are, we have observed that post new release or patch of underlying application, the existing UI selected in desktop flow becomes invalid due to code or UI changes by the application developer. Secondly, when underlying application that is set up or provisioned in lower environment dev or test has different classes or identifier. So for UI element as compared to production environment. So when we push the desktop flow in production, the desktop flow will not able to identify those UI elements and will fail eventually. Coming to the solution, error related to missing UI elements in automation can be fixed by enabling repair flow error feature. Presently, this feature is in public preview, but good news is that it will be generally available in the month of April as per the release plan. This feature is available in Power Automate Desktop version 2.51 or higher and allow user to enable or disable this feature as per the business case. This solution is applied only for UI elements that cannot be found at the execution time by bot in UI and web automation scenarios. The Copilot suggests alternative selector for missing UI element on the screen during runtime. It also allows user to review the Copilot suggestion before applying and saving the alternative UI selector. On the right side, we can see how we can enable this feature from the properties of desktop flow. I will cover the details later in the demo. The key benefits of repair flow errors are it improves the reliability of automation by reducing errors. Fixing error definitely increase the success rate and improve the efficiency of the operations. It further reduces the downtime for robotic process automation scenarios. Prerequisite. To enable this feature, we must enable some configuration setting in Power Platform Admin Center. The two important settings that we should enable are, first is the Copilot setting and second is the desktop flow repair at runtime configuration. We have a separate setting for attended and unattended run in Power Platform Admin Center. One important thing to note here is we need to enable the Power Platform environment as managed environment to make this feature work in unattended mode scenarios. Now I switch to the live demo. In this demo, I will cover unattended implementation. So I start with the prerequisite. So this is the admin center. Click manage and then go to the environment. So I have used QA environment, that is a developer environment. So first of all, it is a managed environment, as you can see, because it is needed for unattended scenario cases. Then we'll go to the settings. Settings. And then go to the features. So you can see, repair at runtime for attended and unattended scenarios. These are enabled, right? So these are the prerequisite. Now go back to the Power Automate desktop flow. So to enable this, feature, we have seen how we set up, how we configure all the setting at the Power Platform environment side. And now this setting can also be enabled, disable from the desktop flow side. So if you create a new flow, you can see repair flow error preview feature. So you have to enable this to, um, so that the Copilot assist in fixing the errors. And now for the existing flow, you can just go to the properties and you can enable and disable this feature. So here you can see it is in disable. So if I enable it, it gives us two options. One option is manually repair. So if you choose this option, the Copilot would not suggest you the fix for the selector. But if you choose repair with Copilot, then the AI will suggest a fix for the missing UI element. So in the demo, we'll cover this feature, repair with Copilot. So I have already created a desktop flow. So the scenario is we have a invoice app, want to show invoice window app, and we want to extract this data, this in it, and create a CSV file of this data. So this is the scenario. Let me show you all the action which are there in the desktop flow. So first action, run application, will run the application. The bot will run the application using this action. And next, this is extract data from table. This is an action that that locate the UI element and and put all the data grid data, put all the tabular or data grid data in a variable. So if we see here, so this is a selector. So in this case, this selector is invalid. So when I run this, we will get a invalid or selector not found error. So once we have this in a variable, we just close the application, using the application ID, process ID that we get from the output of this run application action. And finally, we create a CSV file using the data from table variable, and we will store in a local file folder. So this is the use case. So as I mentioned, it contains invalid selector for this data grid element. Let me show you. So if I run in debug mode, it will not able to identify that data grid because it is invalid. All right. So you can see it throws an error like at action name extract data from table. It is not able to find that UI element. Okay, so let me save it. And now what we'll do, we'll trigger the desktop flow from the cloud in unattended mode. So I have already created a cloud flow. So now we have, the desktop flow with invalid selector, and how we will see how Copilot will suggest, the fix for that. So here you can see it is a manual trigger flow just for demo purpose. And this is the flow, that we will trigger in unattended mode. So we have a remote server machine on which it will run in unattended mode. Let me trigger this flow because it takes some time, to trigger the flow to the remote machine if we trigger it from the cloud. Now this is the remote machine. So I've already, we already have a machine attached to this environment. If I go to this machine and go to the run queue, you can see this desktop flow is triggered from the cloud. And if we go to the desktop flow run details, you can see we have a instance running. If we go there, So it is executing on that remote machine. So for the recommendation, we have to go to the automation center tab, because all those recommendation, these are the feature of manage environment, and we can get all these recommendation here. So it is taking time, the bot takes some time to run the machine, so we'll wait for another couple of seconds, some second I mean. So this is not the latest one. Let me refresh it. Yes, so we have in this error repair failed desktop flow. So let me click repair with Copilot. So you can see it is real-time notification, and it recommends like it has found a one invalid UI selector or UI element during automation, and it also gave an action to to correct that UI element, and it also suggests UI element to select from it. So this is the desktop flow. The repair status, it is pending, and it also have a timeout. So it basically has timeout property. If any user doesn't act by this time, the flow will fail eventually. It also gives the start date when this desktop flow trigger from the cloud and on which machine. So if I click here, you can see we have a different option. So this run details will take us to the desktop flow run detail. Flow details will take to the details of the flow. And ignore, and if we click ignore and continue, then we are not fixing the UI element and the flow will fail. But let's repair this with AI. So you can see the error UI element not found, and it also gave the script name or desktop flow name, the action number, and the subflow where it encounter the error, and the application name. So this is the default selector that we had, invalid selector I mean, that we already had in the desktop flow, and this is a suggested fix. You can see, right? So it has identified that data grid that has an invalid selector, and this is the the correct or the valid selector for this suggestion provided by the Copilot. And we can click full screen yes. So this is a screenshot of the remote machine where it struck with this UI element because it could not found. And then so on the bottom you can see we have two options. If we ignore and continue, definitely the flow will fail because we haven't applied any fix, and because of invalid selector it will fail. But this apply to once is it temporarily provide a push the valid selector into the desktop flow, and this flow will run from here. So let's click this. Yeah, so applied. So this UI selector applied to this run. So you can see now we don't have any action to perform. And in older we can see, let me go back again. So this is, we have just fixed, and it also gives us the outcome feature. With this feature we can see like who has take the action, who user has take the action on along with a timestamp. So now let's check the the desktop floor run instance. Yeah, so you can see the flow ran successfully, and it has executed all the steps, all the action within the desktop flow. And going back to the cloud flow also, it ran successfully. So let me go back to my last slide, which covers the known issues and limitations. So some of the major limitation are this feature is available only in US region. It works for desktop flow saved in schema version 2.0. This feature limits in adding persistent selector for the desktop flow trigger in unattended mode. As we have seen in the demo, it only gives a temporary fix for that particular run instance. So if we trigger this, cloud, this flow from the cloud, it will again, struck there, and it will prompt for the recommendation. Then it could not suggest error fix for UI element in virtual desktop. The feature does not support child flow execution, UI element collection, and picture in picture execution. You may refer to the official link mentioned at the bottom of this slide. Now, there are some challenges, that we don't have a real-time notification to the user, to to go to the recommendation screen, and and apply the fix. So for that, I've seen there are some challenges right now in this feature, and hopefully Microsoft team will, add this feature in the product itself. So the challenge is, it is very impractical for user to continuously track the recommendation from the automation page. And moreover, this has a timeout period. So if we miss, then obviously the bot will fail, and it will hamper the automation process. And also it's very difficult for user to remember the schedule flow. So if we have a schedule from the cloud, nobody will remember, when they will run, and we should be ready. If there is an error, we should be ready for the fix. So the chances are, user may miss taking action on these recommendations. So I have written a blog to, a kind of extension to this feature, to resolve this feature or the challenge, to resolve all these issues or the challenges. Yes. So to summarize, you have seen how easily we can set up repair error feature to increase the success rate of UI and web automation in unattended scenario. I hope you found this session useful. Have a colorful and safe Holi. Thank you.